The second race of the day in the Formula Winter Series will be on the circuit in the next few minutes. We are at Portimão, the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve. We've got one race in the books. That was won by Us Racing's Gabriel Gomez. It's now time to do it all again. 30 minutes plus 1 lap of racing in the Formula Winter Series for, of course, the Tatuus T421 Formula 4 chassis. Myself, Adam Weller, here with Andy McEwen to bring you the action, along with Izzy Browning in the pits and on the grid. It has been an interesting day so far in the skies. We've got some sunshine now. We haven't had any rain, any precipitation to speak of, which means that at the very least they've got optimum grip around this circuit. 4.6 kilometers in length, 15 turns, most of which are to the right, and we've heard drivers saying they really do have to work on preserving this rubber across the race distance, which usually ends up in the 32 to 33 minute region. The weather for the rest of the day is looking fairly good. Temperatures will drop after we finish racing, but for now, a toasty February 16 degrees out there on the circuit. And we will see how this race unfolds. Certainly, we saw a very interesting first race. We did have our pole sitter win it in Gabriel Gomez, but as Izzy Browning alluded to at the end of that first broadcast, anything but lights to flag.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those races where if you just glanced at the grid sheet and the result sheet, you didn't really get the full story, did you? Eddie Robinson led 95% of that first race after making a really good start. He got ahead of Leo Robinson and Gabriel Gomez at the first corner as they were busy squabbling over the lead. Eddie was just there to break through into the first position, held the lead, defended well, seemed to settle down in the middle part of the race, and he will tell us, I'm sure, was well on course for a victory until the safety car came out. And the safety car came out after a collision between Sebastian Bach and Anea Frey, who will be starting, by the way, right next to each other for this second race of the day. It's always the case, isn't it? And that safety car period led to a one-lap shootout at the end. And unfortunately for Edu, there was nothing he could do to fend off Gabriel Gomez, who just seemed to switch the tyres on more quickly, wriggled his way through halfway around the final lap, and went on to win what was a pretty entertaining race.
Yeah, so first win in the books for Gabriel Gomez and indeed for Us Racing. Another driver down in the Us Racing area of the paddock is Kabir Anurag, who returns to the Formula Winter Series for 2025. We caught up with him yesterday to get his feelings going into Season 2 of the Formula Winter Series.
One of the returning faces in the Formula Winter Series paddock is Kabir Anurag. And I think the first thing we need to touch on for this weekend, and indeed your recent past, is the outfit, of course. You're now an Alpine junior driver, you're part of the academy, and the first driver racing under a Singapore flag to have that honour, to be an F1 academy driver. So I imagine that's really big for you.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've dreamed of since I was young. I think every driver wants to be in an academy. And yeah, just after the Formula Winter Series I signed, and now coming back to the Formula Winter Series in the Alpine colours, we're going to really push to have a strong one this year.
And you had a strong season, of course, with us last year. You did very well in Europe during the summer. You've been winning races as well during the off-season, quote-unquote. How optimistic are you for a potential championship bid here?
Well, there's no real off-season in Formula 4.
No.
But yeah, I'm definitely got to be confident going into it. I have the second-year advantage, which not a lot of people have, and I think Us can produce a really good car, Us Racing. So it's just ready to get cracking on and take it step by step.
Second season advantage, but not previously, at least with us, at Portimão, of course, because this is the first time we've been racing in Portugal with Formula Winter Series. Do you have any previous experience here?
No, never been here before, but you know, we had a lot of time and we just had to adapt, and I think we found the pace now, and yeah, we just got to see tomorrow how we fare out, but really loving it over here. Good weather, not like where I live now in London. Yeah, it's bad over there. But yeah, really love the place, good food, good vibes, so happy to be here.
And I mean, among the circuits you've raced so far, which is quite a few, where does Portimão rank?
Oh, that's a hard question. I definitely have a bias, of course, since I won at a few tracks. It's gonna be favorited. But why don't you ask me that at the end of the weekend? And if I win, then it'll be top 3.
Excellent, yes. The more you win, the more you like the circuit. That does tend to be the rule. And of course, lastly, there are, plenty of people you've worked with for a while here at Us Racing. You've also got Maxime, who of course you've been a teammate of for more than a year now. Is it nice to have that comfort as well? Of course, it's an advantage to know the tracks and to perhaps know the car, but also just to know some of the people.
Yeah, I mean, Us Racing, it's almost like a very family feeling. I really love the team. There's really good people here. There's a really nice environment. Charlie's not there anymore, but our little mascot over there is just lifts everyone. So I love being with us, and I'm really glad that if I could be with any team for my second year, it'd be right here. So.
Well, we're looking forward to having you for a second season in the Formula One series, and good luck this weekend, Kabir.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you guys.
Kabir Anurag then, who had a bit of a disappointment in his first race earlier on. A technical issue sent the car into the pits. I didn't get any more specific information than technical issue, but he lines up 7th on the grid for this race coming up. So another opportunity for the Alpine Academy member to try and move up the field. He's one of the few drivers who has someone lurking, let's say, in his garage with F1 attire on, which is always very interesting to see. Of course, people keeping a close eye on those that have been marked up as potential young prodigies in the single-seater ranks. We see there the wet track board being held up, much to the confusion of several of us, because we've checked with the camera ops, and camera ops have checked with the marshals, and they've all come to the conclusion around the circuit that we're yet to have any rain hit the track. Perhaps the forecast they're seeing is different to the forecast we're seeing. For now, certainly the teams agree with us that it looks very dry out there. They're all on slick tyres.
Usually camera ops are the first to notice rain and very much the first to report that rain. So we will find out pretty swiftly, I think, if the rain does arrive. But for now, it looks pretty dry, doesn't it? Bit cooler than it was earlier on this morning. That could play a part in this race. We sort of alluded to this earlier on after the safety car period. Some drivers switching their tyres on more quickly than others. The same, I'm sure, would have been true at the start of the race. They've got this outlap to the grid. They sit there for 5 minutes or so, and then there's a warm-up lap, and then that's it. Off you go racing. So in the cooler conditions now this afternoon, that will be a little bit more of a challenge. Also, a lot more rubber has been laid down now after the fairly lengthy Portimão 6-hour qualifying sessions that were taking place in the interim between FWS Race 1 and Race 2. So slightly different track conditions. The drivers will have had a little look at that on their outlap to the dummy grid, and they will have another opportunity to do so on the green flag lap later on. But an interesting racing prospect here, I think, Adam, because we've got, on the face of it, a very similar look to the front of the grid, right? With Gomez, Robinson, and other Robinson, Edu and Leo together at the front of the grid. Thomas Behrman starting 4th. But of course, whilst the first 3 on the grid finished 1st, 2nd and 3rd, albeit in a slightly different order in race 1, the likes of Thomas Behrman, Lucas Samalisto, Maximilian Popov, Kabir Anurag, who are all there in the top 4 rows, their fortunes in race 1 weren't quite so favourable. So we could see those drivers in particular really getting their elbows out here. They need to try and score some points.
Yes, for Samalisto, of course, he was 3rd on the road, but got dropped owing to track limits excursions. Too many for the race control's liking. If you exceed 5, you start to get penalties in abundance, as Lucas Amalisto unfortunately found out in the number 8 car earlier on in the day. For Thomas Behrman, it was contact at the first turn and then lost some positions in the scrum on the first lap. Doesn't take much to get unseated, of course, around those first few corners. If you're on the outside line, good luck. Everyone, I think there is something to say for that, isn't there? Especially if the person next to you on your row gets a good start. You are having to play a delicate game into the first corner here at Portimão.
Although, interestingly, that's what Edu Robinson did, isn't it? Because Gabriel and Leo were so focused on getting to the inside, he just went where they weren't. And okay, didn't get the lead into turn 1, but was much quicker off the corner. He was ahead by the time we saw them next at turn 3. So it's a risk worth taking sometimes, particularly mid-grid. If everyone else is crowding to the inside, you can pass 3 or 4 cars by going down the outside of them, but you have to be aware of the risk that you're taking. It can go wrong sometimes. We sort of saw that from Thomas Behrman. He was actually in the middle of a 4-wide situation going into turn 1 and had that little banging of wheels. and out wide he went. Right, cars rolling into the grid positions allocated to them then. Let's head down there and hear from some of them, maybe with Izzy.
Yes, hello, welcome down to the grid once again for the second race of the Formula Winter Series. The cars have just rolled in behind me. I have to say, boys, you were talking about the weather. It's not raining down here, but it is very, very windy all of a sudden. The wind has just picked up in the last 15 minutes. So maybe something that the drivers will have to factor in this second race. But we are going to take a little bit of a walk down the grid. Once again, Gabriel Gomez is on pole position. He was, of course, the winner of this race this morning, but as the boys were saying, it was not such an easy win for him. Not a lights to flag victory, as the boys were saying, but I am going to come and see if I can jump in with the guy on P2, and that's Eddie Robinson. He was on P2 again this morning, but ultimately took P3. Eddie, you're on the front row once again. What did you learn this morning that you can take into the race this afternoon?
Yeah, just try and get a clean start and see where that goes. Try and not lose position in the first lap and see where that goes.
And a lot of drivers this morning saying to me that they were struggling with tyre wear around this track. Is that something that you felt as well?
Yeah, you started to feel it halfway through the race, definitely, turning towards the right.
All right, well, we wish you best of luck in this race. Have fun out there. Right, we're also, sorry, just bumped into the mechanic behind me. Just continue down the grid. We've got the number 6 of Leo Robinson. Of course, he took P2, but I think he'll be wanting a bit of redemption for this morning's race, as he was leading most of the race, but ultimately did not take the win. I think we have got a little bit more time. I don't want to keep the drivers too long because we will be getting on, but I'll just jump in with Thomas. Thomas, we saw this morning you had a bit of contact and then ended up in the pit lane. Is everything okay now?
Yeah, all good. We'll see what we can do this race. Hopefully get a bit of a cleaner race.
Yeah, it was a tricky race this morning. How confident are you feeling for this one?
Yeah, pretty confident. We'll see what we can do off the start and for the rest of the race.
All right, wish you best of luck. Thanks for speaking to us. Right, we will continue back. Of course, we've got the Red Bull car of Finn McLaughlin. Now, he was our rookie winner this morning. Had a fantastic first race in F4. Will be starting his second ever race in an F4 car, and I think he'll be one to watch this season, definitely. He had a fantastic race, and as Adam was saying, very much Maciej Gwadish-esque. If you were with us last year, you'll know that Maciej was a very, very impressive rookie on our grid, and I think that Finn might be doing the same. Now, we've got Lucas Samalisto here in the number 8 car alongside. Now, he finished P3 on the road this morning, but ultimately did take a penalty, demoting him to P13. He's got the pace to be up front. We shall see if he is able to do the same thing. Now, the cars are beginning to rev their engines and get fired up. I am going to continue down the grid, although I think we are just about to have the 1 minute board to see the number 3 of the VAR. Now, of course, you've seen lots of high-tech and lots of us racing liveries this weekend so far, but of course we do have a VAR livery in the top 10. Always great to see a different mix of teams up there. So that's Max Popov in that car. In the number 3 there. Now, I'm going to keep continuing because I think we've got a little bit more time, although I can see the Marshal getting ready. Another us racing car, the number 71 of Maxime Rem, of course, returning to the Formula Winter Series this year. We've got a couple of drivers returning to the Formula Winter Series, his teammate Kabir Anurag being one of them. Now, the Alpine back driver, as Adam's already said, didn't have the perfect race this morning, but he will be hoping to finish the race unlike this morning in this race coming up now.
So the Formula Winter Series grid receives the green flag. We're underway on the formation lap, and for the second race in a row, it is Gabriel Gomez who leads them away. This grid formed of the second fastest times from earlier on in qualifying one. Eddie Robinson is back alongside him in P number 2. Leo Robinson, third position, leading most of the race earlier on. He'll be keen to try and win this time around. He is alongside his teammate Thomas Behrman from P4. Theon McLaughlin in 5th place alongside Luca Samalisto, who'll be hoping, I imagine, to learn the lessons of track limits after the penalties from earlier on. Kabir Anareg's car appears to be missing on the grid. There was a technical issue with the car. I was assured that it would be able to start, but it's not there at the moment. Maximilian Popov, therefore, currently alone on row number 4. Row 5, Maxime Ream. For us racing alongside the AS Motorsport car, Sebastian Bach, the Nordic 4 rookie champion, his first weekend in a current generation F4 car. Enia Fry is next in P11 alongside Andrea Kostic, another of the us racing drivers. Nina Hardeman in 13th place. She is alongside Dante Vinci in the number 66. Bart Harrison in 15th position for Yenza Motorsport alongside Andrea Dupe. And then behind them should have been Kirill Kutskov, but that car seems to be missing as well. Simon Trans, therefore, will be alone on row number 9. Row 10, Alexander Ruta alongside Alicia Palmovsky, who moved up well in the first race, was in amongst the battles. I'm sure she'll be hoping to make some upward progress once again. Artem Severikin is 21st alongside Theo Borenstein 22nd in the number 22 car. Peyton Westcott 23rd on the grid. She is joined by Matilda Putz. In 25th position, Alba Hurup Larsen alongside Georgi Zarowski, deputising for Guy Albag this weekend. 27th place, Rafaela Ferreira alongside Ava Agnostiadis. Rounding us down to 28th, Joanne Chiconte and Cornelia Olkutska in 30th place. So then, 30 cars were set to take the start. It looks like we are down to 28 for the time being, but that's certainly more than enough to have a compelling motor race. Of course, the first of the rookie drivers on that grid is Thomas Behrman. He'll be looking to try and match the performance of his rookie adversary, Fionn McLaughlin, in this race. And then the first of the female trophy drivers is Nina Hardeman, who is some 7 places ahead of the next best driver in that category, that of course being Alicia Palmovsky. So Nina once again will be aiming for the top 10, which she managed to climb herself well into in the first race of the day. Race 2 then, we'll see if we get a different shuffle of the deck this time, even though the front of the grid is similar.
Yeah, certainly going to be an interesting race. Really excited, actually, for this fight between Thomas Behrman and Fionn McLaughlin, which we were sort of robbed of, really, in race 1 because of the issue that Thomas had at the start. That should be a fascinating battle. And, of course, with this sort of ominous spectre of possible changing weather looming on the horizon, that could throw the cat among the pigeons as well. The race has been declared wet, not because the track is wet, as we've already discussed, but just so that if it does rain, teams are perfectly free to change tyres. You can only change to wet tyres if the race director has declared the track wet, which they have. So we could even have pit stops over the course of the next half hour, but let's hope not. Let's hope for a straight race in clean, dry conditions.
Kirill Kutskov just rolled past me in the pit lane, so it looks as though Kirill is making his way to potentially take the start from there. Let's see then, as we get ready to go racing, will it be a fast start from row 2 once again, or will it be us racing, dominating down to T1? It's a good start from all parties at the front this time, but the best comes from our pole sitter Gabriel Gomez, or does it? Because once again, Leo Robinson from the second row is a very fast starter. Around the outside, he flies, catches the air. Hopefully that car is undamaged. Looks like it's moving a bit unsure underneath him for now. Fionn McLaughlin, his high-tech teammate there, trying to take a look to the inside and capitalise, but at the very least. The number 6 car remains in third. The 35 has stalled. There was another car airborne as we cut away there. That's Anagnostiadis that we see there stranded. But unfortunately, Leo Robinson is falling through the order and causing a huge scrum from third place back at the moment. He's falling through the pack and everybody else is trying to find a way around him. I think there's damage on the number 6.
Yeah, I suspect so. From bottoming out over that curb, it's allowed the top 2 to break away significantly. Got to feel a bit there for Fionn McLaughlin. He'd made a great start into 4th and then got really stuck behind Robinson as he was slipping backwards. So Fionn is down into 5th, and I think Thomas Beerman is only about 7th as they drop down the hill. He too had managed to hold on to his position generally off the line. So a bit of a scrappy opening lap. We've got, unfortunately, drama for Leo Robinson. He's pulled off to the side of the road, and I tend to agree with you, Adam. I suspect damage to the under tray, maybe even the suspension of that car, I'm afraid, has taken him out of the race.
Marshall's currently pushing the stricken number 35 Cram car towards the gap in the fence, and I think they might just squeeze it in before the cars come back around. It's going to be close. Yellow flags are waving, and the last of the personnel pushing that car off has now moved away. So they've managed to avoid a safety car here as the number 4 machine of Nina Hardeman. They're trying to, I think, go side by side with Dante Vinci, that might have been. But it is Gabriel Gomez that leads the way then from Edu Robinson in 2nd place. Then it's Maximilian Popov up into 3rd place.
Wow.
So Popov is running well, or I think our timing screen on the graphics may have gotten a little confused. But yes, it is Popov in 3rd position. Here comes the number 8 machine of Sam Alisto there to the inside of Thomas Beerman, so that's for 6th position as it still continues to shuffle there in the latter half of the top 10. But it is Gomez from Robinson, from Popov at the front, and that's Ferreira and Pats that have had a contact a moment together, seemingly down at turn 1. So Matilda Pats and Rafaela Ferreira, one of them is still stationary.
Someone who shall remain nameless said to me over lunch, race 1 was very clean, wasn't it? I did have a feeling it might all rather kick off in race 2. They'd sort of got that first race out of the way, got themselves acclimatised to racing against each other, and now the gloves well and truly coming off for race number 2. What a start, though, from Maximilian Popov. Started 8th on the grid, 3rd at the conclusion of lap number 1, so he's really picked his way through the dramas efficiently. Thomas Beerman, unfortunately, has gone rather the other way. 8th position behind Anea Fry, who at least is pointing the right way in this one. Lucas Samalisto is 6th. Fionn McLaughlin settled out inside the top 5, and Nina Hardeman back into the top 10 again as we, for the 2nd time today, Adam, go safety car.
Yeah, safety car out, so that I imagine has to be to collect the Matilda Pats car, the AS Motorsport machine. I don't think we've seen any additional reasons for a safety car unless, well, it looked like Leo Robinson's car was well off the circuit, so I have to imagine it was to collect the 18 machine. So a dramatic start, a few collisions going on, some airborne moments as this race got underway. Unfortunately, we've lost the driver that led a majority of race number 1, but Maximilian Popov moving all the way up from 8th on the grid to 3rd on the road, 2 laps into the race. Van Amersfoort Racing, I suspect at least a portion of that garage is grinning right now.
Yes, I suspect you may well be right. I'm hearing that Alva Anagnostiadis has rejoined the circuit. In fact, we're seeing now that that is the case. The 35 car heading around, I think, a lap down, though. Yes, a lap down from the rest of the pack, but at least able to close back in and get some running in this second race. But 1 or 2 drivers, I think, will be ruining the way that their second race of the weekend has begun. Gabriel Gomez, though, this time got the job done at the start. Of course, looked as though he was going to lose out to Leo Robinson, but that didn't quite pan out that way. Gabriel Gomez will be very, very pleased to have held on to the lead. Eddie Robinson will be a threat, as we saw in the race earlier on today, but Gomez will feel a lot more comfortable now that he's managed to find his way out in front. Leading rookie, of course, is still Fionn McLaughlin, a couple of positions ahead of Thomas Beerman, with Andrea Dupé again inside the top 3, so pretty much as we expected in the rookies. Hardeman leading in the female class from Palmovsky, who is 16th, so again, some places gained from Alicia at the start, and Alba Hurt Larsen 3rd of the females as the pit lane suddenly starts to look very, very busy.
Yes, that looks to me as though we might have the Kabir Anurag car there on the apron and us racing just to the right side of your screen. And unfortunately, Rafaela Ferreira getting out of the car, ending her race for the Campos Racing team. Of course, Campos Racing rotating their seats across the first 3 rounds of the season among their F1 Academy lineup, all of whom will be backed by Red Bull in various capacities, hence their Red Bull liveries on their fleet of cars. So let's run you through the order after that start. Then it's Gomez that leads, Eddie Robinson second, Maximilian Popov in 3rd place, Maxime Reen in 4th position, Theo McLaughlin in 5th place, Lucas Amalisto in 6th, Enya Fry in 7th position, Thomas Behrman in P8, Bart Harrison and Nina Hardeman rounding out the top 10 at the moment. So Nina already back into the top 10, as we saw earlier on in the day as well. Sebastian Bach in 11th, Dupe 12th, Kostic, Vinci and Schranz bringing us down to 15th ahead of Alicia Palmovsky, who we already mentioned. For Simon Schranz for Renault Motorsport, they've been impressing a lot of people so far this weekend, and Simon was very fun to talk to in the paddock yesterday, actually, and is, I think, enjoying this, relishing the opportunity to compete against some of the international teams he hasn't so far in the F4 CZ Championship. It was initially meant to be 2 cars for Renault Motorsport, but that was downgraded to just a solo entry, and of course that does mean there's a far smaller data pool to work on than, say, us racing with their current fleet of 6, which I think is only going up as the season progresses. So Renault, a very experienced team. A lot of that experience has come in GT racing as well as single-seaters. But for those guys to be up in amongst it and fighting potentially for points by the end of this race, if they keep on the upward trajectory, that is very good indeed. We get a replay here of some of the cars and drivers struggling under braking there, locking up. A good few flat spots, I think, were just made on that run through turn 5.
Yeah, I was watching a bit of qualifying this morning from that part of the circuit, actually, and it's a really difficult braking zone. Steeply downhill, but quite bumpy as well.
Yeah.
Very easy to snatch a break. We saw some of the GT drivers a week ago doing that, and in these cars, even easier, of course, to start locking brakes down there. So yeah, not surprised, particularly on cold tyres, cold brakes, that a bit of that was happening. I think I did spot in the background Leo Robinson already well out of it, though, so he'd sort of checked them all up through turns 3 and 4, got out of the way, and then watched as the chaos sort of unfolded in front of him down into turn 5. But yeah, what a shame that we've lost him. A couple of heavy hitters losing ground too, and they'll all be keen, those who are still running, the likes of, in particular, I think Thomas Behrman, they'll all be hoping for a pretty swift restart here, because Thomas, we saw in race 1, had really good pace, was able to move through the order before he had that sort of mystery visit to the pit lane midway through. And I think given 20 minutes of racing maybe to work with, could still break into the top 5 and maybe yet contend for a rookie class victory. But yeah, I'm hoping it won't take too much longer to get that car out of the way at turn 1. We should be good to go, if not at the end of this lap, maybe at the end of the next one. And we can take another look back here, I think, Adam, at what happened at the very start of the race.
Okay, so let's take a look at this again once more. To me, it looked like this time the US racing cars actually got a better start off the front row of the grid, but Robinson was stellar off the line once again, and he decided this time around, nope, I'm going to hang it around the outside at turn 1. Unfortunately, he found out the negative of doing that. That bump there, launching the car off to the air, and you could just see him kind of wiggling it afterwards. Obviously didn't feel comfortable, and a few corners later withdrew, and as everybody else kind of scattered to avoid him, I believe a second car went up in the air coming out of turn 4 as well. Didn't quite catch whom that was, but we have had a few cars airborne already. Peyton Westcott in the first race had a similar thing. Now, safety car lights off is the bulletin in from race control, but are they withdrawing the safety car? No. So we are continuing on for another lap. We'll possibly only see one more lap under safety car then, I'm guessing, based on that bulletin. But the drivers continue to try and get heat into the tyres behind the safety car for the time being. Of course, you mentioned, Andy, the GT Win Series here last week, and we've been out in Portugal with the Giedlich team for the last 3 3 weeks or so, well 2 weeks actually, 14 days since the beginning of the Giedelic Racing Wind Series season at Estoril. This is the 18th race that we've held in Portugal over the course of the last 2 weeks, and of course the second of this Formula Wind Series season that began just a few hours ago. We're seeing that the safety car will be in this lap, which is very good news, and less positive news for Fionn McLaughlin, who, as you just spotted, Andy, seems to have front wing damage.
Yeah, the left-hand side of the front wing was wobbling in a way that it wasn't designed to. It's not looking as loose as if it's going to fall off, but that certainly will have an effect on his aerodynamics. You can see there the left-hand side of the Red Bull car, that front wing just wobbling a little bit looser. He's had some contact somewhere. We know not where, I don't remember seeing him getting caught up in anything, but of course he would have been right behind Leo Robinson as he sort of bounced back onto the road. We've mentioned a few times the congestion that caused in the middle of the top 10, and maybe that led to a little bit of front-to-rear contact for Fionn McLaughlin. Hopefully that won't get any worse, but it will become fairly immediately obvious, I would think, as to how much that's affecting his pace, because he was rapid in race 1. If he starts slipping backwards, we have to imagine that wobbly front wing is having that effect.
Yeah, certainly not ideal. We've seen before these F4 cars a little less aero-dependent than some of their larger, more powerful cousins, of course. I seem to remember one running completely sans rear wing at one point last year and not being that much slower. Speculated as to whether they could get away with doing that at Monza. So then, the safety car queue has gone missing. There it is, and they're already underway. Gabriel Gomez has pulled the pin far earlier than what we saw earlier on from Leo Robinson. He wants a good car length or two going into the first corner. I think he might have surprised a couple of people. Certainly Maximilian Popov here is going to come under threat from Maxime Riem. Tries to break the slipstream any which way he can. We're seeing the same from Gomez and Robinson up ahead as well. I think Eddie Robinson is too far back. Meanwhile, Popov with Riem around the outside, bouncing across the curbs and thankfully not catching that ramp that seems to be there on the exit of the first corner. McLaughlin still there in 5th place. Thomas Behrman trying to find his way back around Enya Fry as well. Looks like all stations about where they were ultimately, at least in the top 10.
Down towards turn 5, we're going to see any changes here. Well, Fionn's having a go at Maxime Riem, but Maxime covered the inside and it remains status quo as they turn through the left-handed hairpin. Really smart restart that from Gabriel Gomez. We saw in the race earlier on today, Robinson went really late and was immediately under pressure when he got to turn 1. This time, Gabriel went early. It meant that Eddie Robinson had to follow him at full speed through the last corner. Couldn't go as quickly in the dirty air and therefore wasn't close enough to attack by the end of the straight. He had closed in the slipstream, but not close enough to draw level. So really smart driving for Gabriel again, showing that little bit more experience maybe that he's had in these cars with when he was a top 5 finisher in Spanish F4 last year, and he's learned a thing or two from that campaign. That means that he is clearly the leader then as we come towards the end of this 5th lap of racing. The real battle is the one going on behind, although we see a safety car sign again, Adam. For what?
There were yellow flags at turn 3 and 4 throughout that first lap of the race, but I'm not quite aware of why. Now we are. The other Cram car. We saw the 35 of Ananostiadis not starting the race, unfortunately, and now the 37 of Alexander Ruta has had seemingly a problem of some description. Whether he was the only one involved or not, I'm not too sure, but Ruta has a problem. There is a front wing, whether it's Alexander Ruta's front wing, I'm not sure, but a front wing at turn 3.
Yes, okay, so that obviously happened a little bit further down the order than we were focusing on, but the Mercedes safety car awaits the field again, which is just making its way past our commentary position, and Gabriel Gomez thinks, great, I've got to do that all over again now. Nailed the first restart, and of course, Eddie Robinson, you have to imagine, will be expecting that now, so this is where you have to, as the race leader, get a little bit more inventive. We've got Dante Vinci, Andrea Dupé, and Rafaela Ferreira in the pits. Ferreira's been there for a while, but Vinci and Dupé only just heading in. Perhaps the following replay might help us piece together what happened.
Let's take a look then. This is coming out of turn 3. Oh, okay, that was a heavy hit there to the side of, was that to the side of Dupé?
Possibly.
So I think turn 4 is where the actual impact happened, rather than turn 3. Oh, Theo McLaughlin's front wing is now coming entirely unglued from the front of the car. If we have a look as he comes over the hill, it was actually fully sideways. Theo McLaughlin's car is going to have to make a visit to the pits. That wing is about to completely detach.
Yeah, that's a shame. So even half a lap at full racing speed, and the little bit of the wing that was hanging on, the left-hand side attachment, has sadly given way. So Theo McLaughlin, yeah, no way he can continue like that. He will probably be brought into the pit lane anyway by the race officials, because that will be obviously a dangerous situation if he were to get back up to full speed. I think we can take another look back then at that incident, Adam, that has brought out the safety car. We'll try and absolutely identify who was involved.
Okay, so the Maffei Racing car got tagged into a spin there. That was Borenstein that seemingly made the contact there with Ruta. Not too clear on how Andrea Dupe was involved in that as well. Maybe collected the Maffei car as it was spinning because it didn't go into the gravel. But certainly that was the Maffei machine of Theo Borenstein, unfortunately, that was the other party, the yellow machine, the white machine in all of that. It is also yellow and blue, primarily white machine. Of course, sadly, we are missing one of the Maffei cars, or we were missing one of the Maffei cars in Kirill Kutskov from where he should have been in the order, but he did take the start from the pit lane, as we're alluding to, in the formation lap, and he's actually up to 18th now.
Wow.
So he was meant to start 17th, he's now up to 18th, slowly but surely making his way up there. We've had a few other drivers move up the field. Again, Elisha Palmovsky has gained a couple of positions in the brief green flag running that we had. She's now up to 14th place, which means she's 4 places back now from Hardeman, as well as the leader in the female trophy class. So that is potentially something to watch. Now, Theo McLaughlin really should be coming into the pits, and unfortunately the car continues on. I suppose perhaps the mentality is keep it out there until you're told to bring it in, but surely that telling has to come soon.
It's possible that he doesn't know, I suppose.
He might not know,
He might not. The team, of course, do, but whether they... You would imagine they would now certainly have relayed that information over to him, but he probably can't see the front wing from where he is sitting. So he is reliant here upon the team giving him sound advice. The smart thing to do, you're absolutely right, was to pit then, get it changed, catch back up to the safety car queue, and do a bit of overtaking in the final 8 minutes or so. But sadly, if the safety car is to come in at the end of this lap anyway, I don't think he's going to have that opportunity. So, yeah, that is a bit of a miscue there, maybe, for Theo McLaughlin, and this really now is taking any chance of a recovery drive away from him. This perhaps is what happened. This was on the initial start of the races to the inside of Leo Robinson, was that?
Yeah.
Tiny bit of contact at turn 3, and that was enough to dislodge the wing.
I'm wondering if that might have also further hampered Robinson, of course.
Yes.
Given he pulled up just a few corners later, and perhaps there was a little bit of supplementary damage and or a puncture.
He was very wide, Leo Robinson, coming out of 4, and had slowed completely by the time they got halfway towards 5, almost as if he had a right rear puncture or something.
Right.
Wonder if that's... I'm putting 2 and 2 together here. I may be landing on 6, but that it would make sense, wouldn't it?
Don't think Brooklyn Nine-Nine would have gone on as long if we were the detectives in that show. Gabriel Gomez is leading the safety car queue at the moment. The racer in him will be willing those lights off, but of course, when he was following in a safety car queue earlier on, every reason to want to try and get on with the racing. Now perhaps he's a little more comfortable just holding the lead leisurely at the speed that a Mercedes saloon is happy doing.
Yes, indeed so. Yeah, so he will be now very much hoping, I suppose, that this safety car goes on a little while longer. But I don't know, he strikes me as quite a confident young man, and I'm sure most of the grid are as well. But he certainly didn't seem phased in race 1 at any point, did he? And now in race 2 has managed one restart perfectly well. So I think he will probably fancy his chances whatever happens here. It looks like we're getting at least one more lap behind the safety car, though. And so I think he will realistically only have about 8 minutes or so worth of defending to do. Yeah, light's still on. At least one more lap before we go racing. A safety car lap is anything around the 3-minute mark. Yes, not having to worry just yet about a race restart. His previous one, though, was exemplary.
Yes, it was. We'll get a look back at that now as well. He pulled the pin, of course, very, very early indeed at turn 14, the penultimate corner. And I think that caught Maximilian Popov out just a little bit as Maxime Ream went around his outside and was shown a trip to the curbs and indeed the runoff area for his problems. Popov just about held on to that third position, the Van Amersfoort Racing driver, and it appears, yes, that the Red Bull liveried car of Fiona McLaughlin has gone missing. Ergo, we suspect it has gone down the pit lane. Indeed, our graphics now confirming that. So, unfortunately, Campos, nope, that's the other Red Bull team, High-Tech TGR have pulled in the number 5, which is understandable. And as you said, Andy, they might just about get it attached and get it back onto the rear of the field. And, yeah, not sure. We'll have to see. They are performing a tyre change, interestingly. I'll have to look at the regs on that one. There is a mandatory pit stop length in the GT classes if you choose to change your tyres, but I don't think that applies in Formula. Nonetheless, I guess they're trying to give him the best possible shot here, but they're going to have to wait and hope, I suppose, in a sense, that the safety car maybe stays out for yet another lap, potentially, or indeed that Gabriel Gomez does the opposite of what he did last time and really hold them before releasing the field.
Indeed so. Wow, lots of people in the grandstand watching on. I'm sure many of them are friends and family of the drivers out on track, but...
The gentleman sent a picture is with Sebastian Bach. I know that for a fact because I spoke to him at lunch. But yes, so we do have some fans down there. The main grandstand, I believe, isn't quite open, but the action zone down at turn 5 is, and that's where a lot of them are based. So then, with 7 minutes, 40 seconds plus 1 lap to go, the safety car has been declared in, and Gabriel Gomez is now once again biding his time, driving at a very sedentary pace indeed. This kind of speed would cause me to struggle with the clutch in a Tesco car park, and yet we await the cars to go off at full speed. Will he again launch it going through turn 14? It looks like he has indeed released early, yes, once again. So that's Gabriel Gomez's method of a safety car restart, seemingly, here at Portimão. They have got the car of Fiona McLaughlin back out onto the circuit, but nowhere near the chasing pack by the looks of it. So McLaughlin has a long, hard road ahead of him for the rest of the race. Gabriel Gomez with a comfortable lead, and this time Popov has actually gone with Eddie Robinson a little bit more. Not sure he's going to be close enough for a look at second place. Enia Fry, meanwhile, fancies a top 5, is looking to the outside here of Lucas Samalisto. Isn't going to get that done. But everyone once again seemingly staying just about in position. Robinson feeling the need to go defensive there up against Maximilian Popov, and that might cost him now on the run down to turn 5, where it looks like Popov was setting him up nicely for a move. Yes, it's taken 3 corners to get a good setup, but Popov might just find a way. In fact, no. Robinson has negotiated himself to the inside. Popov will remain in third for now, or will he, Andy?
Well, let's see. I was expecting Eddie Robinson to show him the edge of the road there. Popov, I think, had actually already sort of backed out of that situation sensibly, and is therefore right back on the gearbox of the US Racing car as they turn up through turns 7 and 8. And back up and over the hill they will go. Yeah, Fiona McLaughlin about half a lap, I think, behind the safety car queue as the race restarted. So his chances of gaining any real positions in this race looking pretty slim, but towards the sharp end, there are some battles to be resolved over these final 5.5 minutes plus 1 lap. Gomez has gone. That was another brilliant restart. Adi Robinson again struggling a bit more than Gomez on cold tyres. And so Popov, Reem, Samalisto and Ea Fry all queuing up behind as we come towards the end of the lap. Simon Schranz there on the outside line. Alicia Palmovsky up into the top dozen now. Alicia 12th position after the restart, has gained 1 place at the expense of Simon since that restart a lap ago. Can she get into the top 10 by the end of the race? If there are more shenanigans up the road, you wouldn't bet against it.
Yeah, she was analytical and perhaps a little frustrated earlier on in the week trying to figure out the car. Seems like she's got it in race pace though. Maxime Riem, meanwhile, with a good run out of the final corner, is challenging Popov once again. Popov trying to now hold on to this third position against Riem, the number 3 in P3, but let's see if that lasts. Further back in the field, this is Nina Hardeman trying to move through again. Bart Harrison, who has moved forward once again in this race, as he did last time, really with at least 3 or 4 cars on his bumper at the moment. And then in the second pack, or third pack there as well, about 6 cars dueling for positions as well. It seems that we split off from each other a little bit in the first lap, and then it all kicks off for whatever position you find yourself fighting for.
Yes, at the moment that is third position, and Maximilian Popov with a big wobble there through turn number 7, went in on a very tight line and I think maybe caught the curb a little bit. So Maxime Riem now has the run up and over the hill. Is that going to come to anything though when they get to the bottom of said hill? Ooh, very nearly, but still no way through. And of course he's got to be careful. If he goes for a move that doesn't work, he could lose out to Luca Samalisto. It was Popov though who made another mistake there through the right-hander, ran wide over the curb. It continues to stack this group of cars together. Samalisto, Fry and Thomas Behrman all a part of a 5-car fight for a podium place. Fry to the inside there of Samalisto into the penultimate corner. Did that work? Well, Samalisto is wide, but does not relinquish the position. Brilliant racing here between this group, but you do get the feeling, don't you, that the lid of the pressure cooker could be about to blow off.
The last 30 seconds did not go in the way that I thought it was. I thought for Popov having that error, that would be a tell and everyone would pressure and find a way by, but instead, here comes Samalisto challenging his Us Racing teammate, Maxime Riem. Enia Fry looking to try and barge his way further up as well, and near contact there. I thought that was another front wing consigned to the Tatuus spares bin. Samalisto looks to the inside. Thomas Behrman locks up. I'm sure he's got a nice flat spot for his troubles there, but trying desperately to move up from P7 where he currently sits in the race. Running well within the top 10 this time around instead of dropping back further as he did earlier on. Oh, Enia Fry, I thought for a moment there that he'd locked it up. He manages to get to the inside of the number 8 of Samalisto. We're both amazed by the liberal approach to track limits on the exit of turn 5, and they're still going at it. Enia Fry just about holds on to B5. Thomas Behrman is thinking, well, I thought they'd both got into the gravel trap.
But that was phenomenal racing. As you said, not quite within track limits, but hey, who cares? That was really good fun. And Luca Samalisto then taking advantage now with another big dive up the inside of Enia Frey, trying to get that position back. It was Frey, sorry, who took advantage, gained the place, but almost loses it. A couple of corners later, keeps it for now. Thomas Behrman thinking, right, well, which way can I go to try and gain out of all of this? The outside line is where he goes. That becomes the inside for the penultimate corner. And Thomas Behrman tries to get past Luca Samalisto. Did he succeed in getting past Luca Samalisto? Well, not yet. They are still wheel to wheel into the final corner. This is brave stuff. Side by side through there is not easy to achieve, and Thomas Behrman not able yet to find a way by.
Very impressive from both parties to have negotiated that successfully. Behrman looks like he might be ever so slightly closing again. Let's see if he can move for it at turn 1. Samalisto feels the need to cover off the inside line. Behrman might get a good run out of this, gets slightly crossed up on the apex there, but carries his momentum well all the same. Now to the outside at 3, and he's going to try and fold in here for a good run at 4. Maybe a move at turn 5. How was his run up the hill through that apex? Such a challenging corner, turn 4, to get right. And he has, I don't think, quite got the run. Samalisto, all the same, feels the need to make sure that car is as wide as possible.
Yep, defends well on the way into the turn. Behrman has a better exit, but will only be shown the left-hand side of the road, which becomes the outside when we get to 7 and 8, although this worked, didn't it, for an Enia Fry a lap ago. Behrman goes for the switchback approach with less success, and so Luca Samalisto hangs on to the position. Remember that with the issues for Fionn McLaughlin, Behrman is now the rookie leader. Doesn't want to throw that one away if he can help it. There's a decent scrap going on for second in that class between Simon Schranz, who has slipped down the order, and Artem Severikin in the Yenza Motorsport car. They're running in 12th and 13th places overall, 2nd and 3rd in the rookie class. But the rookie leader, Thomas Behrman, is not at the moment all that interested in his rookie class standing. He wants to try and climb an extra position on the overall leaderboard. He has, Adam, just over a lap in which to do it.
Yeah, clock has hit 0, so this is officially the penultimate lap, going on to the final lap, this time across the stripe for Gabriel Gomez. He's in control, 1.4 seconds clear at the lead last time, 1.3 this time, but a few hundredths won't hurt. It's the points and the top step of the podium that count for him at the moment. Further back in the field there, you can see some of the actually Bart Harrison leading them towards the back of Thomas Behrman, but they're not going to close in soon enough. Hardeman under pressure here from Andrea Kostic, who manages to get to the inside for 9th position. Now Sebastian Bach fancies a go back into the top 10, and Simon Schranz was challenging for an hour motorsport there as well from 12th position. So the top 10, at least at the bottom end, I would say anything but stable as to quite who will be there.
Yeah, indeed so, and I think that little lunge there for Schranz might leave him vulnerable to attack, actually, from Artem Severikin for 2nd in that rookie classification. We'll have to sort of check in with that at the end of the lap. At the front of the field, though, Eddie Robinson making a late challenge here against the race leader. Did take half a second out of Gabriel Gomez in the first sector alone on this lap, but Gabriel, you get the feeling, is just sort of managing this, not pushing any harder than he has to. He's keeping Eddie Robinson at arm's length, and it looks as though a double race victory will be headed the way of the US Racing driver. Eddie Robinson, his teammate behind, Van Amersfoort Racing's Maximilian Popov, somehow still in 3rd place. I'm not entirely sure how, given how the first few laps after the restart panned out, but at the top of the podium at least, it will be a very familiar sight for those of you who tuned in for race 1.
Well, his 2nd season in car racing has had the best first day possible. Gabriel Gomez with US Racing is going to make it 2 from 2 in the Formula One Series of 2025. Winner of the race is indeed Gabriel Gomez. Edu Robinson taking P2 ahead of Maximilian Popov, rounding out the podium places. In 4th position across the line then will come Maxime Riem. It seems as though just about everywhere else stayed stable. In fact, no, Nina Hardeman lost out on the top 10. Sebastian Bach moving up to 10th position. And Andrea Kostic from 11th place on the penultimate lap to 8th place by the end of the final lap. So in 1 lap, 3 places. Not bad going from the US Racing number 10 driver, but it's Gomez from Robinson, from Popov, Riem from Enya Fry, your top 5, Lucas Amelisto, Thomas Behrman, Andrea Kostic, Bart Harrison and Sebastian Bach, then your top 10. And that is a very, very good race that we've just put into the books there. And to Andy's point on the final lap, Artem Severikin did get past for 2nd in rookies at the expense of Simon Schranz on that final lap as well, in amongst that top 10 scrum that we had. First podium of the season then for Van Amersfoort Racing, and Maximilian Popov showing himself off very well there indeed. The Dutch team combining with a new driver for them for this season in the form of Popov. The Van Amersfoort squad, who are new to Formula One Series this year, did compete along with their partner team Monlau Competition last year, but this is the first time we've had a full-fat Van Amersfoort entry in the Formula Winter Series. And good for them to have some silverware at the end of their first day in this category. Simon Schranz, I'm sure, will still be happy with 3rd among the rookies and finishing within the top 15, but will be disappointed to have lost a place there towards the end. Gabriel Gomez will once again pull up in the centre spot underneath the podium as our race winner here. The Brazilian fans will be delighted to watch that. I know there are a few Brazilian single-seater fans watching out for the next superstar to come from within their borders. Gabriel Gomez with 2 wins in 1 day, certainly kicking off 2025 swinging. There is Maximilian Popov. He wins the race at least to get to the podium. Eddie Robinson, the distinctive Spanish flares on his car, the dual nationality driver of Spanish and British descent. But Gabriel Gomez came up through karting in his native Brazil, moved over to Europe and continued winning championships from there in karts, and is now winning races in Formula 4. And clearly this is going to be a very positive day in the office for the US Racing driver. Two drivers on the podium once again for US Racing then. The team co-founded by Ralf Schumacher, with a very strong start to the season, will have their eyes on a championship once again in the Formula Wind Series, which they won back in 2023. So Gomez will have a clean sweep of 50 points going into race 3 on Sunday. That will be the perfect start to his campaign in the championship. Incidentally, Nina Hardeman did win in the female trophy class with her 11th overall finish. Palmovsky 14th, second in class, and Alba Hurup Larsen for Yenza Motorsport third within the female trophy standings as a result of her 16th position overall. Word as well to Georgi Zurawski, who managed to move up to 17th in amongst some of the chaos that went on in the mid to rear of the field. So Zurawski made up a good 10 or so places there over the course of the race, having started in 28th position. Peyton Westcott as well moved up a few places from 24th on the grid to 19th in the order. Of course, all of the drivers will have made up some positions as those ahead of them fell through the field. And while he was some way off the field, Fionn McLaughlin did make his way to the flag in 24th spot. So McLaughlin, unfortunately, going away without points in this race and handing the rookie win to Thomas Behrman. So that will have a shift in the rookie standings as well. I think for an overwhelming majority of the drivers, they have a lot of positives to take away from this first day. Enya Fry in 5th position. I think Yenza Motorsport will be wearing some smiles this evening down there. That's the best result for the team, or for Enya Fry at least, in his Formula Wind Series tenure with the team. They did get some good results in 2023. But for Enya Fry, that is the best finish for the team in the Formula Winter Series. Yenza, the team that have got over 30 years of history in single-seater competition. I think more homing in on Formula 4 now as they step back from the FIA F3 Championship for 2025. And with the lineup of Fry along with Harrison, Severicken and Larsen, they're hoping for some good results. And certainly they're already seeing better results than they had during the 2024 season. So that's got to be a huge positive for the Swiss outfit and indeed for Enya Fry. Can see the drivers making their way back from the podium. I understand that the winning drivers have all been sent off to the weighbridge. So Izzy is just wrangling them back towards the podium at the moment, both for the sake of interviews and, of course, for... So I can see that Izzy is almost ready, so hopefully we'll get to go down there in a moment and hear from our race winners and maybe some of the others on the podium as well. But of course, the official duties come first, don't they, on that front? And hopefully we can go down there in a second. And in fact, we can go down now. Imagine Gabriel Gomez is going to be down there with Izzy.
They do indeed. Of course, the drivers being whisked away from me to go and do the important weigh-ins before we could do these interviews. But Gabriel, congratulations, 2 for 2 today. More commanding this time than this morning as well.
Yeah, it was a really perfect day for us. We managed to do a really good race now. The start was not good, to be honest. Robinson put on the outside in T1, but I managed to keep it in P1, and then was not an easy one because we had many safety cars, but we did really good restarts after the safety car, and the pace was super. The car was unbelievable, was everything perfect. Everything was very good, and the pace was just insane. I pushed a little bit, and I could pull away a lot, and then it was just to manage the tires and everything for we can fight tomorrow again for the win.
Yeah, you mentioned the safety cars, obviously 2 of those in that race, 2 quite long safety car periods as well. We did see you go very early on the restarts of the safety cars, something that was different to what Leo did this morning. So did you maybe learn a little bit from that of how to not put yourself under so much pressure?
Yeah, I think so. Like this morning I overtook him, and then I said I cannot do the same. I tried something different, and it works really good today. And
all right, well, good learning, and one more race tomorrow. So what do you think is possible for that?
I think tomorrow we start in P2. It will be not easy for sure, but we will try again the maximum as we can we fight for the win again.
All right, well done today. Go up to the podium, go enjoy it. Congratulations. There is our race winner. I'm going to see if I can find some of the other drivers, maybe our P2 and P3 if they've come back from the weigh, and hopefully they haven't already run off to the podium.
Never mind if they are, Izzy. It's great to hear from Gabriel Gomez, our race winner for the second time. I'm a bit taken aback by just how analytical and unanimated he is at the conclusion of a race. Let's take a look back, though, at the highlights of race number 2. So as the lights went out on top of the gantry, it was once again a fast start from the second row. The number 6, Leo Robinson, had a great run on Gabriel Gomez going through the first corner. He would hang it around the outside, and unfortunately he would get airborne. That car was seemingly okay after the initial impact there, but then we would see him make just a little bit of contact with Fionn McLaughlin. That would send the Irishman's front wing askew. It would seem a puncture as well for the number 6 car. We also saw there one of the Cram cars stuck on the grid, Anna Stogniadis, unfortunately starting a lap later after being pushed back behind the pit wall as Leo Robinson withdrew from the race. It was all kicking off in the first lap. Eventually, it would lead to a safety car. There were some more negotiations further back in the field. The AS Motorsport cars in amongst it as well. A bit of a lock-up there for Alicia Palmovsky as she tried to move through the order. Meanwhile, her teammate Ferreira making contact with Matilda Pats. And that unfortunately resulted in our first safety car as Pats was unable to take the car back into the pit lane. Meanwhile, Rafael Ferreira had to get out in the pits. Unfortunately, a sad end to her second race of the day. Pats' car was retrieved. We are back under racing conditions. The top 2 would remain stagnant. Maximilian Popov would have to really fight to hold third position from Maxime Reeb, who went around the outside at turn 1. Then again at turn 3, but unfortunately green flag racing would only last so long. Contact sending the 37 of Alexander Ruta into the gravel. Once again it was some great fighting for Maximilian Popov as the race resumed, though this time he was trying to find a way around Eddie Robinson for second place. He did not succeed at getting second. He would have to defend that P3 once again. But Maximilian Popov clearly woke up in a fighting mood today and managed to hold on to that third position despite the challenges that he faced. Enia Fry, meanwhile, dove to the inside of Lucas Amalisto. Both of them had to buy a ticket to rejoin the track. And they rejoined with Enia Fry ahead. Thomas Behrman would then sense an opportunity to get around Samalisto, one which it looked like he was going to take. He did take for a while, but would ultimately end up behind Lucas Amalisto. Simon Schranz, meanwhile, trying to make up places and would end up costing him up against Severikin, who was lurking behind. But Gabriel Gomez claims a second consecutive win of the season in the Formula Winter Series. Some drag races further back. That was between Nina Hardeman and Sebastian Bach for the final spot in the top 10. But the spot in front of the podium, today at least, has been reserved for Gabriel Gomez. Of course, we've got race 3 coming up on Sunday morning, and he'll be looking to make it a perfect weekend. Eddie Robinson alongside him, second position. Maximilian Popov third in the standings, ultimately ahead of Maxime Riem. Enia Fry in 5th. Samalisto in 6th position, ahead of Thomas Behrman, the first of the rookies home, in 7th place. Andrea Kostic in 8th place. Bart Harrison 9th. Sebastian Bach in 10th position. And Nina Hardeman, the first of the female trophy drivers, in 11th. Artem Severikin in 12th place. Simon Trans in 13th. 14th for Alicia Palmovsky. Kirill Kutskov in 15th after starting from the pits. Alba Hurup Larsen 16th, Georgi Zuravsky in 17th, Dante Vinci in 18th, Peyton Westcott in 19th, and Andrea Dupe rounding out the top 20 ahead of Theo Borenstein. Chikonte Olkuchka in 23rd place, 24th position for Fionn McLaughlin, 25th place Anagnostiadis, 26th place, unfortunately non-finishing the other crown car of Alexander Ruta, Rafaela Ferreira and Matilda Patz, both withdrawing after their contact in the early stages of the race. So for Gabriel Gomez and for us racing, it is time to celebrate once more. The second podium of the day begins now with Andy McEwen.
Thank you, Adam. Podium time once again for the Formula Winter Series after another entertaining race, the second of the weekend and the second of the season. We'll start again with the best female driver in the race. It's a double win in the category for Nina Hardeman. Congratulations onto the top step again for Nina. Second win, 11th place overall that time, not quite inside the top 10, but another solid run for the high-tech driver who collects her second class victory trophy of the weekend. And trophy held aloft once again for the photos to be taken. And once that's done, we'll dive in and have another chat with Nina after a really solid result once again in the class. Nina, congratulations, double win in the class, but again, in and around the back end of that top 10 battle, and that's where the excitement is, isn't it?
Yeah, the start was a bit messy. We got a few places, so that's good. But then the end, I was struggling with the tyre grading a bit, so I lost 2 places, unfortunately. But still a solid race coming from P13.
That's interesting then, because it was cooler for race 2, wasn't it, than race 1, and yet tyres were still an issue?
Yeah, I put the Q1 tyres on, so they were a bit grained. I grained them a bit, so they were not the best, but we knew that from the start.
2 wins in the class, and again in and around that top 10. What's the chances of another top 10 maybe tomorrow?
Tomorrow I have to start from P15, but definitely top 10 is the goal. We've seen I've got good starts and I can keep up with the boys, so definitely top 10.
Excellent. Congratulations once again to Nina, our top female driver in the second Formula Winter Series race of the weekend. So now we move on to the rookie category, and we start with a driver making his first appearance on the rookie class podium, Simon Trans. Congratulations to Simon, third place in the rookie class in that second race of the weekend. Second position, having got ahead of Simon on the final lap of the race, was Artem Severikin. Congratulations, second position for the Yenza Motorsport driver. As I said, got ahead of Simon on the very last lap of the race. But after disappointment in race 1, what a way to bounce back. A rookie class win and 7th overall for Thomas Behrman. Thomas very casually heads towards the top step of the podium and handshakes with Simon and Artem. Thomas Behrman, after having that off in the earlier race at the first corner, managing to bounce back nicely in race number 2 with a class win, and was knocking on the door of a finish inside the top 6 overall. Definitely going to be a factor for race wins, you'd have to say, before the end of the season. And good stuff as well from Simon and Artem, that battle that went right down to the wire for second position, in the end going in the favour of the Yenza Motorsport driver. Another big round of applause then for our rookie class podium finishers. I think the photos are all taken. So Artem and Simon, you can vacate the podium. Let's have a quick chat then with our class winner. And Thomas, that was a lot more like it, wasn't it? After a disappointing first race, bounced back nicely there with the class win in race 2.
Yeah, a disappointing first race, bit of contact, broke my front wing and had to come through the pits. But yeah, nicer race, bit of cleaner. But yeah, there's still more to go, I think. Bit of a disappointing start in that race after my teammate got a puncture. So let's see what we can do tomorrow, I think.
So you did get a puncture then from that contact. That's good to know. It's so difficult though, isn't it? Starting sort of middle of that top 10, anything can happen through turn one. Is there much that you can do to sort of plan what you're going to do in the first half a lap?
No, I think it's you take it as it comes for the first lap. It's there's no way to plan it at all, but that's just how it goes.
Excellent. Well, I won't ask you what the plan is for tomorrow, but hopefully another race win in the class for you. Give it once again for Thomas Behrman. So on now to the winning team, and again a very familiar sight after they did so well in race one. It is another victory in the Formula Winter Series for US Racing. Adrian Raffles from the US Racing team heads on to the podium to celebrate a double win for the team. He will be joined by our top 3 drivers overall. In third position, a first podium of the season for Maximilian Popov, who gets a big cheer from the Van Amersfoort Racing team down below. A very popular podium finish for him. It is, though, a second podium finish of the day, one step higher this time for our second place finisher, Eddie Robinson. Eddie runs out onto the podium to celebrate half of an US Racing 1-2, because it was exactly the same winner as we had in race one, albeit in a slightly different fashion this time. Give it up, everybody, for our double race winner, Gabriel Gomez. Gabriel heads once again to the top of the podium. US Racing, the team to beat so far in the Formula Winter Series here at Portimão. And now the national anthem of the winning driver. Gabriel Gomez, the winner of the second Formula Winter Series race of the weekend here in Portimão. And that time he led from lights to flag, seeing off the early challenges from Eddie Robinson and managing to hold on till the end. And a perfect start to the season for Gabriel and the US Racing squad, who, as I said, are going to prove tough to beat, I think, moving into tomorrow's third and final race of the weekend. So the final set of photographs of the day are taken up on the podium. The teams, I'm sure, will be celebrating for a little while before moving on to the preparation of the cars for tomorrow, and perhaps with a little look ahead to what we can expect from tomorrow here in Portimão. Let's head downstairs to Izzy.
Yes, hello, welcome down to the pit lane for the final time today. I'm delighted to say I am now joined by one of our commentators, Adam Weller. Adam, first day of the 2025 Formula Winter Series season. I think it's given us a lot to talk about.
It really has, hasn't it? We've got one driver making his intentions very clear up there at the sharp end, but also a healthy mix of teams up there as well. Van Amersfoort taking the challenge to the ones who are really here in numbers, of course, being US Racing and High Tech. And good to see some of Jensen Motorsports drivers up there as well. Enya Fry in the top 5, loved seeing that. And yeah, in general, I think it's a day that tells us we're going to have an entertaining season.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the day sort of, well, I say dominated, but not so much in the first race by Gabriel Gomez. Andy, I can see that you're on my right. You've made it down from the podium. But yeah, 2 for 2 for Gabriel Gomez. So a great day for him, really.
Couldn't have gone any better. I mean, at the start of the day, to the best of my knowledge, he had not won a race in single-seaters. He's now won 2 in one day, and that's just a huge confidence boost. Know you can do it, and then have it immediately validated a few hours later. He's going to come into race 3 with a lot of confidence.
Absolutely, and of course, some people for whom the day would have been a positive, but for someone like Leo Robinson, yes, a P2 this morning, but sort of feels like a day of what could have been almost.
Yeah, we were sort of trying to spin that in a positive manner as well, because he has been quick all weekend long, and there's no reason to suggest that he won't win races before the season's done. But all he will care about now is what happened in race 2. And he will certainly say through no fault of his own, it was just one of those unfortunate lap 1 bits of contact that was so minor and yet had pretty serious ramifications for him as far as his result was concerned. But the positives are there. He'll go into tomorrow knowing as well that that race result hopefully won't affect too much about, you know, where he starts, for example, for that race. And he has got the potential in raw pace to challenge for victories. He will be painfully aware, though, of the points lead that Gabriel already is building on the rest of them. They've got one more race tomorrow and not that many more rounds over the course of what is a short season to try and bounce back from it. So, yeah, going to be an interesting day tomorrow for sure. And he's one of several drivers, I think, who will be looking for a bounce back.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, a mention for some of our rookies, of course, some of them taking their very first starts in F4 racing, in car racing today. Of course, Finn McLaughlin being one of those. He took the rookie win this morning. Thomas Behrman, not his first start in an F4 car. He had a couple of rounds last season, but to take the rookie win there, it's impressive. Rookies all day.
Yeah, great start. And of course, Thomas with 2 positive qualifying sessions as well. So he'll be starting well again on Sunday morning. He's got to start P4 on 2 occasions. He's been in amongst the battles all day. That's positive learning for him, if anything. And as you said, a rookie win to conclude his first day of the season. I think the young man has a lot to be positive about. And as we were saying, a remarkable sound-alike of his brother. And if he's anything like his brother in F4 cars by the time we get to the summer, he's going to be all right.
I think so too. And then finally, Andy, I mean, you've spoken to her quite a lot on the podium today. A mention for Nina Gademan because she's had a fantastic day. I mean, top 10s and really looks like she's had a step forward from last season now being with the high-tech team.
100%, yeah, really impressive stuff. Just missed out on a top 10 in race 2, but I think she could be very satisfied with how today has gone, really. She showed some great racecraft, really, and that's the thing that I always look for more in this kind of junior single-seater category style of racing. The pace is great, but once you get into a real race, that's where you find what you're made of, and she showed some really good racecraft, read some situations ahead of her really well, and managed to pick up a few good positions. Also nice to see Alicia doing a little bit better today. She sort of had her head down a little bit, you sensed, after testing yesterday. Right back up there again. And again, another whose racecraft far outshone her raw qualifying pace. So that really is where it counts. You can qualify wherever you like, but if you can finish towards the pointy end, that's all that we really remember at the end of the weekend.
Exactly. Well, a fantastic first day of the season for the Formula Winter Series. And the best part is we've got one more race coming up tomorrow. That will be at 9 a.m. So make sure you join us then. It's goodbye for now.
Hustling for down racing. They both go deep into the corner.